Hey everybody, what's up? Thanks for coming out to another episode of Mario Nawfal Roundtable Spaces. We've got an interesting one today. Utherverse, we've talked to you before, Brian. Love what you're doing. Big fan of the metaverse, and I'm excited for companies like what you're doing to actually bring that back. It was all the rage last cycle. One of the major buzzwords, kind of like how meme coins are today, and maybe even some of the aspects of SocialFi that we've seen over the past, I don't know, like the past 6 to 9 months. But I'm looking forward to chopping it up with you and hearing more about Utherverse, what you guys have really got out there and accomplished since the last time you've been here, and something else to give the listeners who may not have been there for that space, some background info on what you're doing. But man, markets have been going wild, and I know we've got guys like AJ, and AJ, you must be having one hell of a time. Like, what are you seeing out here? How are you doing?
Dude, I'm doing good. I mean, it's been a good week. I texted you back, that's how you know that things are pumping. Man, so basically, good to see you, Dave. Been a minute. Um, well, someone's phone's ringing, and that's very annoying. So, Bitcoin, man, really good to see. So basically, you have to look at it like this: like any momentum that we have inside of this bull flag is good, but we don't have like that, 10, 15x crazy bull run Lamborghini conversation until Bitcoin breaks out of the bull flag and puts in a new all-time high and enters a new phase of price discovery. And structurally speaking, us turning around early September, everyone said, September is going to be this, big bearish month. Well, everyone was wrong about that. September 4th, we were in the 52 range. We were actually top to bottom up 26% in 21 days in September. Bitcoin's, hit around 66.6. Right now, we're chilling at 55.8, almost 55.9. And what's good about this most recent push up for Bitcoin specifically is two things. One, it was looking like we were going to get a death cross on the daily chart for the EMA. The EMA did not death cross. The 50 came to the 200 and turned around. So, like momentum, that's very good. And structurally speaking, when we turned around in the beginning of September, that was the first higher low that Bitcoin put in during inside of this bull flag. And now that we cleared 65,000, this is the first higher high that we've put in the structure of this bull flag. So is this the impulse move up that clears Bitcoin out of the bull flag? I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know, but at least we can react to Bitcoin finally putting in a bullish structure. And if it starts its own uptrend, even if it turns around and gets rejected at the top of the bull flag, at least then we could have a conversation of it starting a new structure because it has put in a higher high after putting in a higher low. So, we're not clear until we break out, but the structure of the whole thing is looking good, and hopefully October, is an October. Yeah, that's the hope, right? But so,
What
David,
what's the number that like takes us out of that zone? Like what is it? Like 69K, 75K? Like what does Bitcoin need to hit for everybody to really start getting excited?
well, so the bull flag kind of comes down the hill. Like if it was to break out today, it would be 68.3, 68.4, and if we're talking like by November, it would be 67.1 because the line is coming down. So that number, Bitcoin's requirement to at least touch the top of the bull flag goes down a little teeny bit every day. But the truth is, really, getting out of the bull flag is really phase one because phase two is break a new all time high. Like, is there a scenario where we break the bull flag and get rejected at all time highs? Yeah, I mean, that could happen too. But breaking the bull flag that has started back in March, we're knocking on the door of October here. Like, this is, we got it. We got to get out of the bull flag. And until we do, it's just, we pumped in the summer. We pumped, back in May. We had that nice run in July. We had a nice run in August. But all the pumps that we've had since the all-time high, we just got excited and we got shut down. And we got excited and we got shut down. That's because of the structure that we're in. But luckily, it is called a bull flag because eventually the idea is that it's going to break up and out and continue. So like I said, I'm just glad that we structurally, after putting in a higher low, put in a higher high, because that we can finally have a conversation about structure. And that but until we break out, there are no promises. But October historically has been a really strong month, man. And what I really like about going into this month is the sentiment. Going into September, everyone was kind of shy, everyone was nervous, crypto Twitter was kind of dead for a couple days. Right now everyone's excited, and I think that really does tell a story. And when everyone gets on the same page, I think that's when the magic really happens. But we still have some catalyst. We finally had an interest slash. That was the first interest slash since March of 2020. Really good to see, not just America but the world, China, Japan, other countries as well, entering a phase of quantitative easing. Money printer go burr. That's what we want to see. We do have the election coming up. That could obviously play a role in all risk assets, not just crypto, but crypto included, obviously. There's a lot of macro conversations that do indirectly, directly play a role. You know what I'm saying? But, all I can do as a day trader is react to the market. And to do that, you just have to know what levels are significant and how to react to the price finally getting to those levels. So
Well,
it's a patient game.
AJ, and first of all, thanks for having me. Thanks, David, and for everybody that's listening. As a day trader, man, you must be overjoyed that options on IBIT are going to start trading. That's going to make your leveraged plays for the upside a lot more lucrative. Um, you
Did you
know,
say on Bybit?
on IBIT on BlackRock.
Oh, okay. I misheard you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. With options trading, I mean, we're going to enter a new phase for Bitcoin. That's gonna lead to all of these squeezes that everybody's been predicting, because, of course, Bitcoin being a finite asset that can't be papered over. When those options come due, um, they need to come up with the coin. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And that's going to create the squeezes. That's going to create the $1 million Bitcoin. I think we could simplify this whole cycle. We could simplify this whole discussion. I hate to because there are so many technical reasons why Bitcoin is about to break out. But you just have to look historically. It's 18 months after the halving, and we hit new all-time highs. This year, this cycle, of course, was accelerated with the adoption of the ETFs, and that pulled a lot of demand forward. But here is the pivot point that we've always seen in every halving. And I think when when people start getting excited, it's not really so much a chart as it is, I can't sleep, I've got to pull my phone out and see where it is now on the hourly, or the 15-minute. Um, very optimistic about what we're about to encounter here with Bitcoin, with the whole crypto industry. Um, so many reasons for this, but when you talk about rate cuts and liquidity, I mean, just look at what happened in China. They fired Bazooka a couple of days ago. We now see Bitcoin 66 plus. Um, and that bazooka was round one of what China is going to do. That is going to force all first world industrial countries also to cut, and to in order to remain competitive. We've already seen rate cuts in the United States. This disproportionately impacts Bitcoin, of course, way beyond other risk assets, because Bitcoin becomes the refuge of last resort, the anti-fiat. And I think that this cycle is markedly different. The awareness that people have that fiat is just not a viable instrument for a store of value. We see that idiot Peter Schiff trying to cherry pick analytics about gold and comparing gold to Bitcoin. The guy's going to be wiped out. Everybody's going to be wiped out. I mean, gold is nothing compared to Bitcoin. Um, uh,
That's true, but to be fair, the gold chart doesn't look half bad.
Oh, it looks great. It looks
Yeah.
great right now. Right now. But when you're comparing Bitcoin all-time high to gold currently, and you say, well, gold has been outperforming Bitcoin, or Bitcoin priced in gold, from the low that we hit after the all-time high, right? I mean, it's very cherry picking statistics. I'd love to debate the guy because his use of statistics is just this incredible um, deception. But yeah, people will reflexively go to gold until they realize that that's not where the true store of value is, and we're going to see the dam break. Anyway, those are my 2 cents on Bitcoin. Take it for what it's worth. I'm not an investment advisor. I'm just somebody that does quite well.
For sure,
What
man. I'm right with you on that, and I got a lot of really good nuggets out of what you said there. I mean, to first off, with the the options, that piece, I mean, that's a missing piece of liquidity that Bitcoin doesn't have, right? That's just going to add more sugar to the pie, in my opinion. I mean, we the more accessibility, the better. And certainly that options entering the picture, that couldn't hurt, right? Secondly, like with gold, like I've been looking at a lot of charts lately, from gold to natural gas and chocolate even, and
Oh yeah,
Bitcoin, gold, the gold chart does look pretty good. I'd be surprised if it went under 2000 again, to be honest, but it
no,
does look
never.
strong. But I do completely hear what you're saying, that like the tides are certainly going to shift, and that Bitcoin over time, I'm with you. I think Bitcoin's a better call than gold over time.
Right.
And that's only going to become more clear as time continues to go on, as regulation becomes more favorable, as the macro kind of works itself out, as always.
Here's
So yeah, man, I
here's
agree
what I
with.
want.
Yeah.
Here's what I want you and everybody to think about. This is my little thought experiment. You saw what happened with GME, right? GameStop, um, and with the call options that really dealt a blow with Gamma and with uh, 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 that price action. But GME was able to take new shares and build up their cash to over $4 billion by issuing new shares to the market to satisfy those call options. Imagine when the same squeeze happens in Bitcoin. There's no new Bitcoin to issue, right? I mean, this isn't a spike like GME going up 1,000%. This is a spike like Bitcoin going, well, we are contractually obligated to deliver on these call options. We owe 10,000 Bitcoin, and there's only 800 available for sale at any price on any exchange, right? I mean, that takes Bitcoin to $1 million a coin, bam, overnight. I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see that God candle, boy.
Yeah, me and my friends were just joking literally the other day. Like, we literally like had a laugh because we were like, guys, like, we're going to see a $1 million Bitcoin in our lifetime.
Oh yeah,
Like, we're in our 30s and we're just like laughing with our feet up. Like, we're going to see this one day. And just, I'm not, maybe that's one of the paths that takes us there. The scenario you just broke down. I don't really know the full story on how it's going to get there. I just know it's going to get there. And it is something certainly fun to chuckle about. That's for sure.
that's for sure. Well, we'll bookmark this space so that people can refer back to it and go, yeah, yeah, he made that call.
For
It's
sure.
going to be a GME type short squeeze where they can't issue shares because of a call option in the money.
what are some other areas that people should be paying attention to? Like, what do you guys think is really going to be that next shiny object in crypto? Like, after, like, we got meme coins, but what's the main thing going to be coming up?
Yeah, well,
Go ahead, Brian.
yeah. If you're asking me, I can tell you the real answer here. Um, and of course, it's a thing that was hot at the beginning of last cycle until people realized that you can't throw a metaverse together the same way you throw together a website. We are hosting a convention right now in both of our metaverses, in our classic metaverse and in our brand new public beta version of Xeon, which went live today. Um, and I can tell you, metaverse is the central spoke in all of crypto. And what I mean by that is everything that crypto deals with as digital assets, digital currencies, that comes to life in a digital world. Um, in this convention, of course, in our classic software, we have thousands and thousands of users that have not been exposed to Web3. We've been having Web3 panels for the last couple of days, and the interest level is huge. When we roll out, as we roll out today, Xeon 0.3.5, 0.3.6, sorry, we upgraded a level. Um, This is going to draw in millions and millions of users that have never been exposed to Web3 before. And they all get a crypto wallet, of course, because we've got our UTHX token. They need the crypto wallet so that their NFTs can become functional NFTs inside the metaverse. Um, and this is not metaverse like, this piece of garbage, Decentraland or Sandbox. I mean, those were slapped together metaverses that are, really just decimated the term even. But a true metaverse, a Ready Player One metaverse, which is what we've just rolled out. Um, this is the thing which is going to pull all of Web3 together, where every project can have its own metaverse as part of this network. Every NFT project has, conferences or, shops and regions, interactions with their community. All of communities upgrade from, what was, let's say, um, uh, uh, Clubhouse, and now we do X Spaces. All these communities are going to migrate to the convention style spaces that we are doing, multiples of every hour inside our metaverse right now. Um, as this pulls people together and pulls people in from Web 2 into Web 3, as it brings these projects to life in a way where suddenly projects that people thought had no value, you can realize the value because they exist in a digital environment. That is going to be the main theme of this next cycle, and it's a main theme because we've gotten the software right and we've rolled it out. The only problem with the software, and I should point this out, I would like everybody to go and download it. It's free if you do it now, and it's going to be free until we move into the next version of beta, and it's free to play. But there's so much demand on it right now. We have this on a content distribution network, but it's taking about it's taking up to 3 hours to get it onto your computer. We just made the announcement a couple of hours ago that we were live. So I was trying to get this out before the conference started, so that we could have the hundreds of thousands of people attending in the software. But it may take you a little bit, so please be patient.
The metaverse is the answer to that question, David. I would love to see it. To be honest, I do agree with what you said. The Sandbox, the Decentraland, the Blocktopias of the world. I feel like there was a lot. I feel like the 21 Bull Run was like all the promise, and we're not in the Ready Player One environment yet. And I think when the metaverse happens, I think the way our brains think it can happen, I think the average user, whatever platform that is, the first to that type of experience, is going to be the winner, at least for like that 5 or 10 years. I mean, like, think about the first time we like with ChatGPT, like AI was like a concept in our brains, right? But then we actually got to use it, and we were all pretty damn impressed. And then since then, we have like Midjourney and other things like that. And I kind of feel like that will kind of be whatever metaverse is the one that ultimately, at least takes the torch for the first bit of the first like full real integration of it. People are going to have to be impressed. And I was literally just thinking about this. We were watching a Black Mirror episode, like a couple weeks ago, and there's one earlier in the timeline. It's all in the same universe, and they have like the goggles, and the next timeline they have like the ship behind their ear, and then there's the chip in their brain, and it's just like at what point is this like gonna start playing out to the point it is a Ready Player One experience? And I do think that is that going to be the main narrative this cycle? uh I think to a degree, yes, but I think until we're literally inside the video game, I think it's going to take some time for
Hey
it to
Jay,
be the number one.
you've got to download my software.
I'll check it
It
out.
Yeah, it's
I want
there
to go in the
today.
Matrix. Load me to the cloud right now. Load
Yeah.
me up. But
Yeah. Now I should say, Ready Player One got a few things wrong, right? People running around in headsets. That's really over the top. Um, for most of the things that people will interact with for a metaverse, you're just going to do it on other screens. You're going to do it on your mobile. You're going to do it on your computer screen, just like playing a video game. You don't really need to have that full blown immersion if you're watching a movie. Let's say you do want to have that full blown immersion if you're at a high end event with pyrotechnics, and if you're at a gentleman's club, for example, maybe you're going to want that high fidelity. But if you're just manning your store, if you're doing shopping for some clothes for your avatar, you could do that on other screens, right? So we are multi-screen. We're screen agnostic, basically. It'll run on. Right now it runs on computers. It runs on VR headsets. We haven't quite done the mobile user interface yet, but this is not the one that we released today. We have been working on for years. This is the metaverse that you're talking about. You're fantasizing about. We got it. It's out. People have to see it to believe it. Honestly, that's all I can say about it.
What do you think, David?
Yeah, I mean, look, it sounds interesting, and I know that Brian's got a ton of experience. If anybody could do it, like technically wise, I think it's there. I think the hard part is going to be getting everybody onto it. And same with the metaverse. Even with Ready Player One, like I don't think the world is in a position where we would just get half of the world into the metaverse. And that's kind of what I want to ask Brian. Like, what's the plan? Like, how do we get everybody in there? It sounds like an incredible experience, but how do we get everyone to notice that?
Yeah, yeah. So, that's where the baton has now been passed to me and to my marketing team from the development team. And what you're going to see is, there's a huge amount, like just the conference that we're doing right now. There's, like I say, we can't keep up with the downloads, right? Um, there's thousands and thousands of people that are at the conference, and of course, because we have so many high-end influencers, key opinion leaders that are speaking, that are on panels, they all invite their audiences to come in. There's all kinds of new programming. So this is the ability for people who maybe wanted to be an influencer and didn't quite have the ability to do that in Web 2 or on X. There's whole new pathways, like you can just reserve a movie theater, reserve a podcast room, and have interactive activities with your followers, and of course it's all paid, right? So um, uh, through an affiliate program, anybody that you refer in, that account can be tracked to you. Payments made from that account, people participate. The referrer participates in that revenue stream. So it provides a monetary incentive. It provides an incentive in terms of just bringing in friends so that you can co-experience events. But when it really comes down to it, when the product is fun and engaging, and there's always stuff happening, it's 24/7. There's always thousands of people online. It's easy to meet people. It is social fi, as the title of this spaces indicates. With this type of social fi, it's it. I'm expecting the same kind of marketing that happened with the original social media in Web 2. MySpace going from no users to every single person on the planet basically talking about it in the course of 30 days. Um, because it's a cure for boredom. It's a cure for it brings safety. It brings the cost structure down to be able to attend comedy shows, music shows, concerts, shopping, conventions and conferences, travel, tourism. Um, with all of the business partnerships that we've developed and we are developing, with all the projects coming in and having their meetings in Metaverse, all of these companies that are bringing in customer support offices, so you don't have to wait on the phone, or you don't have to try to deal with these automated customer support. You sort of walk into the office, and there's customer support people that you could just walk up to and screen share with. It's hard for me to communicate just what Metaverse is capable of doing and how disruptive it is to the existing paradigms that for either in real world or online. But the marketing is largely going to take care of itself in those kind of ways. But of course, the other thing is, I've had more than 50 million users of our classic system. They are all getting invited back. So that's immediately going to create millions of users in the new system as soon as we have the bandwidth on our CDN to be able to give them all the software. And then I'm going to go through in my keynote speech, which I'm giving at 3 o'clock at the conference. Oh man, I'm going to give so much alpha. I'm going to be discussing the token and the tokenomics because, of course, our token goes live tomorrow at 10 a.m., our token generation event. Um, but also go through like what we have planned for October for marketing, November for marketing, and then December. And December, when we've fully opened to the let's say um, uh, nightlife, right? The neon lights, the dancers, the erotic, the rave parties, all of which can be done safely from home, but really give you that sense of being in an adults only kind of environment. I mean, that's what made the internet blow up, and there's no doubt that with the totally photorealistic avatars in every anatomical capacity, um, that can basically do anything that you can do in real life. I think that's where, the game is over. Hundreds of millions of users, and then it just blows up from there. So it's a pretty extensive marketing plan. And of course, airdrops of the token, right? We've got several $billion worth of tokens lined up for airdrops. And as the system grows, those airdrops will happen to active users of the system just in an ongoing basis with a halving, which I borrowed from Bitcoin. Um, but as the system reaches certain metrics, like the first 25 million users, we're going to distribute 50% of what we call the new user strategic reserve. And that's an airdrop system of our UTHEX token. And the UTHEX token, of course, is on the Solana blockchain. It's available for sale for the first time on decentralized exchanges starting tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Oh man, I definitely want to talk more with you about the token, get some info there. But man, what you were just saying before with the metaverse and just it being playing a major part of everyone's life. How far away do you think we are from this AI technology taking it to the next level with like holograms and robots and Utherverse and all of this stuff going on?
I love this question because uh, if you can wrap your mind around the idea that metaverse is sort of the capstone to the internet itself, to the web itself, that we've gone from decentralized sort of apps to through a central system, which is a web browser browsing flat web pages, and then interactive flat web pages, and then social media. And ultimately the end game is to be able to have a fully immersive capability of the internet. Um, at that point, you recognize that the metaverse is also the cornerstone for AI. So I have a whole division, and we're working on AI companions, which could be like your concierge, an AI pet, an AI assistant that for example, you go to this convention, which we're literally hosting with the trade show floor as we speak. You have a conversation with somebody at a booth. You want more materials. After the convention, you've forgotten the name of the booth. You ask your AI companion to sort through everything that they've noted down for you for the entire thing, and they can give you all this information. You go out to an after party, and you're a little bit shy. You want to be social. Your AI companion, like Cyrano de Bergerac, can be whispering things in your ear, like, "Hey, I pulled up this person's social media. They like to discuss this and this. Why don't you ask about that?" Right? Um, I, I can go on for days about how AI, really the killer app for AI is Metaverse, and you can't have well, you could in a very awkward way have an AI companion, assisting you in the real world, but it's so much more seamless when it can be an invisible companion that's just giving you advice or telling you, things, or recording things for you, or really assisting you um, in your experience in the digital world, in this virtual immersive environment. Um, so and of course, I'll plug my book that I wrote about 20 years ago, The Minerva Virus. The Minerva Virus being my novel about artificial intelligence, which unfortunately is coming true. um,
Why, unfortunately?
oh, uh, it is a novel about a computer virus which is programmed to evolve on the internet, and it evolves into sentience, and it takes over the internet, and some dastardly things end up unfolding. But it's kind of
That
a
sounds cool. That reminds me of a TV show I used to watch, Person of Interest.
That
yes,
reminds
yes,
me of the Elon Musk Joe Rogan conversation when he said that if a virus was uploaded to Neuralink, that would be like the worst case scenario. That's funny.
right. And I go into some of those. I mean, I really wrote it as a warning, but people kept hitting me up to make it into a movie, uh, which I would be fine with. But God, it's challenging to build a metaverse and do a movie at the same time. But yeah, grab it at Amazon, the Minerva Virus. Not that I'm plugging that book. What I'm plugging right now is download our metaverse, uh, uh, our new beta, our public beta.
Well,
And
one thing you mentioned earlier was you made a few comparisons to Ready Player One. Like my favorite part of that movie is like the bodysuits because we've got the VR. Like I think the visuals and everything, we're getting pretty close, but you can't feel it. Is that
right.
something that you've considered? Like, is that part of the long-term roadmap for Utherverse?
Oh, my friend, you ask me the greatest questions. I love doing these spaces. We have multiple patents on a new type of technology. I need to get it backed with a proper VC, because this is really a different kind of venture. I mean, at some point, I will fund it myself. But the suits that you're talking about are called haptics suits. We developed a technology called adaptics, and this adaptics technology, which we've got a bunch of patents on, is a technology that you don't wear. It is, I mean, the best way that I could describe it is it's the holodeck. So you're able to engage with the real environment, or well, with an artificial environment around you that feels entirely like the real environment. And it does this with an ingenious um, kind of three-dimensional pixel system and a morphing lattice uh, uh, of actuators. But it's designed so that you could do everything from, give somebody a handshake, toss a ball, or try on a pair of jeans and actually know what the jeans feel like, with these adaptive three-dimensional texture pixels. So yes, I guess the short answer is we've thought about it. We've developed the technology. We've got it all ready to go. It just needs to be built. And I love the idea of something like, a military person deployed and their spouse being able to lie in bed next to each other and watch a movie together and cuddle. And you could do that with an adaptics, an adaptics bed, for example. Um, so yes, because the only thing that we haven't been able to crack is being able to taste things.
Man,
Wait, so
it's
you cracked smelling too, or
Well,
just
no,
taste and smell can
taste and
very
smell.
close?
I'll lump those together. I mean, smell is a little
Okay.
bit easier because I've seen technology. We decided not to go there because there are sort of these aerosolized technologies that have tried to do smell. So you could sort of do a little bit of smell stuff right now, but taste, that one I can't crack. So if somebody's got an
man.
idea for how you could eat and taste things in a virtual environment, I think then we've really got the matrix going.
God, it sounds like you've got some very talented developers over there. You need to tell them we're missing something over here in crypto. We're missing a token that only goes up and doesn't go down. If any team could do it, like I think you guys have a have a pretty good shot at it. I mean,
Yeah,
holy
well,
shit, Ready Player One, but better.
well, I'll tell you, I really would encourage people to tune in to my keynote today at 3, because I am going to go through how it is that we're going to manage our token with the tokenomics, because I've designed a system where it should only go up. I mean, it's never only going to go up because there will be short-term fluctuations, but where it should always be, I mean, Bitcoin ultimately, once it's adopted, should only go up.
Yeah.
And we've developed a token which, because it's a token, not a coin, I could do things that couldn't be done with Bitcoin. Um, and it is designed to go up, um, uh, for reasons that, geez, I just probably don't have
Hey,
time to get into today. But
I don't need to know how it works. I just need to know that it works. And
right,
but judging by what you said, hey, like I want to get in on it. Tell me more about the token. You have the TGE tomorrow. Is there any way for people to still get into it, or do we have to wait for the launch and then you use one of the exchanges or the dexes?
right. So it's going live on, with liquidity on Jupiter Dex. It's on the Solana blockchain, so you would need to have a Solana wallet to be able to receive it. Um, and it will be available on other decentralized exchanges. It's just we're not doing market making liquidity on other exchanges. We're doing it through Radium, but um, I believe, I'm hoping that some of the people that were in on the earlier pre-sales are going to be willing to sell some tokens at a decent price. We're going out. It's a little bit insane, but we're going out with a fully diluted market value of 1.5 million or so. I'm a little bit skeptical that people are going to be willing to sell it at that value, but I'm sure that some people will want to exit, so you may be able to get in, at a reasonable price. Um, but the token is used for everything in the metaverse, and this is really where, from a high level overview, we have managed an economy in our classic system that uses an internal ledger system. So it's not a cryptocurrency; it's just internal ledger. But we started this about 16 years ago, and it's done tens of billions of dollars in this economy that I've been able to manage. We learned a huge amount about how to run a metaverse economy and to do it profitably, where you're constantly taking tokens out of the economy, not in a way where they're burned, because we don't want to burn them. Not at this early stage, for sure. Ultimately, I believe that there will be 100 billion users of this metaverse. And it may be hard to grasp 100 billion users when there's only like 8 billion people on Earth. But when you start thinking, okay, well, people typically have multiple accounts. You have an account for your business. You may have an account for your partnership, for your trust fund, right? With 100 billion accounts and only 3 billion tokens total, we can't that will ever be minted. We really can't burn tokens and still have system growth. But what we can do is what I call sink tokens out of the economy. And these token sinks come from things where users are paying for system rewards. So I'll give you just one example. It's free to play, it's free to download, it's free to use the metaverse, but there are extended system benefits to being VIP. I mean, I talked about, the nightlife. You're not going to be able to go into any of these regions unless you're VIP. You're not going to be able to go into a strip club or, a rave party without being VIP. And that generally is going to cost you about $20 in fiat every month. But if you're paying in UTHEX, our token, you're going to get between a 25 and 50% discount. So what's going to happen is people won't pay in fiat. They're going to go to the exchange to buy the token. And that's going to cause demand for the token. And those tokens are going to go into the treasury account, where they're basically going to be sequestered as profit. And the company will book it as profit. So that creates a constant demand for the token, where as long as the price of the token gives you a discount over the $20 monthly charge, rational buyers are always going to buy token. And we can maintain that by reducing the number of tokens that is required to get your VIP. And this is one way of exerting consistent, permanent upward pressure on the price of the token, the value of the token. And that's just one of hundreds of sinks in the economy, which sequester tokens back out into the treasury.
Is there like some sort of additional economy for like players, people who are using that? Is there a way to
Yes.
set up businesses? How do people make money in there?
Oh yeah. So I mean, there are already hundreds of cottage industries in our metaverse. So everything from being a clothing designer to being a wedding planner. I mean, we have weddings all the time because it's so social. Being a DJ, what we call deco. So these are people that will design your personal virtual residence or your business residence, and they do this with putting the props in place, coloring or texturing the walls, texturing the props, and those textures um, create work for texture artists. Everybody in the chain ends up getting paid or paying with UTHEX. So a popular DJ can make spectacular money. A dancer at a club, you know, um, he
Right.
or
So
she's going to be get a tip.
it's kind of like a Second Life and how everything is made with mesh and then they've got their lindens and this is just a way juiced up version that the entire world can really use.
Yes, I mean that's from a 10,000 foot, sure, that's a very reasonable way to look at it. Um, uh, of course, having real world businesses there as well. Where uh, uh, we like Playboy coming in. We're opening this Playboy club, um, and that's a whole different kind of thing. Um, with the token and with uh, opportunities for people. Let's say opportunities for people who want to be a model, opportunities for people that I don't know have an OnlyFans, for example. Um, all of these businesses will ultimately be captured within metaverse. um, you know, Marvel, Disney, those worlds coming in and creating games. So, if you think about Ready Player One, you think about, there were worlds there where there were racing games and first person shooter games. Those are easy to develop in metaverse. But the beautiful thing about like these interconnected games is you don't need to develop the entire game yourself. You could have you can have a game like a World of Warcraft where you outsource, like, here's a quest, go to this person's world, and then you're basically trading traffic with this other game, and you're agreeing that possessions can go across what we call the like these boundaries, these access control layers. And so traffic trades, the ability to buy and sell advertising or to rent space, it's such a massive economy. Um, I, I don't know. I keep getting sidetracked, going down further and further in one direction, but I think you get the idea. Um, because it's built as a browser, we are also selling domain names. So in order to get metaverse on the system, which we call a sovereign, you will register a domain name with us. We're authoritative for this VWW protocol that we developed. So these also require UTHEX, and then you have these sort of world masters as another career opportunity where the person is managing the whole metaverse and renting out spaces and buying and selling traffic and buying and selling advertising and search engine placement and all of these pieces. So it's really a recapitulation of the internet, meets kind of the best of video games meets the best of virtual reality, and that's what we're releasing. Um,
Man.
and man, when they say do your own research, what I think they're talking about is download the software and try this metaverse, try this metaverse for yourself, because it's impossible for me to describe it.
For
Uh,
sure. I mean, a
uh,
lot of things is kind of like you can explain it until you're blue in the face, but just give it a whack and you'll understand as you go on. Yeah, certainly a lot to break down there. I mean, we could certainly have this conversation for hours, in my opinion, but I kind of so we know, there's a lot happening, this month. TGE's tomorrow. You're giving speeches, keynotes today, stuff like that. But I do want to know, we only have so much time until the ball drops on New Year's Eve, and then like we're in 2025, which is projected to be quote the year based off Bitcoin halving cycle. I really kind of want to know the like your direct focus, or AKA your roadmap for the rest of this year and early next year. Like what's the real plan for like the marketing push? Just kind of
Okay,
ideas like that.
sure. Well, let me. I will give you a few examples because the real roadmap is very lengthy. We have in October another patch coming out in October. And this is going to add in gamification features and our events system. So there's going to be a huge amount of fun to be had with October, with Halloween, with being able to play to earn basically, and be rewarded with skins and be rewarded with points towards airdrops. But this, as a marketing tool, not only does this add all these game features in and these events being added in, but it allows all of these Web3 projects to be able to come to us and, for example, put together quests for people to go and collect items for their project, to learn about their project, and then be rewarded from their project. So I expect that we're going to see outfits like D Games come in and bring in hundreds of thousands of users with the various quests that we're going to be opening up in October. In November, we're in the November timeline, we're looking at activating the in-world UTHEX system, which we call WUTHEX, which stands for World UTHEX, not Wrapped UTHEX. This will allow user-to-user transactions in world that don't hit the blockchain. And there are a lot of reasons for wanting to have two systems, one which is blockchain, which we have no control over, and the other which is an internal system for user-to-user transactions where these tokens could, for example, be escrowed. They could be reversed in the event of non-performance within the metaverse. But once that system is activated, there'll be system-to-user transactions, so real play to earn directly. User-to-system transactions, so you'll be able to buy VIP, for example, or be able to purchase clothing and other items. The activation of the full economy, well, it won't be the full economy, but the first activation of economy in November is going to draw in, of course, a huge number of users. And then in December, it's holiday time, and it's also where we're adding in the real nightlife. We're going to activate the first sovereign, which is the Red Light Center sovereign. So there's all kinds of adults-only activities, all kinds of edgy, neon light, rave party, tip your, tip your dancer kind of things. And that's going to bring in, of course, all of the top OnlyFans models, all of the top Playboy models. And we think that that's going to drive in a huge number of users. It's going to massively grow the user base. And then, of course, we go into 2025, and we've got the roadmap, which I will outline in a lot more detail in my keynote.
Sweet, man. Well, dude, first of all, we are going to be wrapping here soon, but before we do that, everyone, I do want to point your attention to the page here, Utherverse, I believe. I'm sorry, I'm bad at pronouncing words. .io. It is on stage here as a speaker. Make sure you go give them a follow. They have a lot of really crazy news this month. TGE's tomorrow. It's all really going down. Be sure to be one of the people, early adopters there. It might be a really smart play. Also, I want to point your attention upstairs to the Nest. Make sure you join the Mario Nawfal Discord. A lot of really stuff going on there. I just joined it last week. A lot of really good stuff going on in there, and also the tweet for token generation, like I said, happening tomorrow. That tweet is in the Nest as well. We did have Moon Rover with his hand up, but he seemed to bail it out on us. But David, do you
No,
have a?
he's back. He's back up. Moon Rover, what's up? Do you have a
Okay, cool,
question you
cool.
want to ask Brian?
What's up, Brian? Good to see you. Looks like
Hey,
you're a Solana guy.
yeah,
Question for you regarding like Solana metaverses. There's many that have popped up over the past couple of years. I don't know much about yours in particular, except for what you shared today, which is awesome, and love to catch up with you offline on some of that stuff. But
definitely.
I've been following Portals pretty for quite a while. I don't know if you're familiar with Portals and what they've done on Solana. Just curious on adoption and just all the other metaverses that are coming out there. What does that kind of competitive field look like, you think, in the next couple of years, with many different worlds kind of existing? Can they coexist? Do you need to almost kind of partner with some of these different metaverses to work together in some facet to kind of take over? I'd just be curious on your thoughts on that end.
Yeah, so we are so far ahead. We've got 85 patents in the metaverse space. We've been doing it for 20 years. This is our fourth generation metaverse. It's, we built the protocols from the ground up. Um, my team has, I've got the most experienced team by a million miles for building metaverse, and it shows. Um, we are exposing tools every month, and increasing the capabilities of third parties to be able to build on our platform. But we're really a metaverse platform, not as much of a metaverse. We do run, of course, our own metaverse, Utherverse Xeon. And that's really to for us to refine the tools, build with the tools, ensure that there's always activities. But the ultimate objective is that we are a metaverse browser, that allows for a single system like the internet, to host all metaverses that are accessible through our browser. So I really be happy to work with other metaverse projects. We invite them to come in. It's quite easy for them to rebuild their projects on our system, so it becomes compatible. But at the end of the day, I'm sorry to say, there will be only one metaverse platform. Just like, America Online and CompuServe and, all of those, they ultimately got subsumed by the one internet. Um, we are at the point where, with all of the intellectual property and with all of the head start that we have, and with, with what we're doing, there's no doubt that we will be the metaverse, that ultimately is the metaverse. But the good news is, with using our sovereign system, um, the ability to create fully customized metaverses that look and behave, act completely differently, with completely different avatars, with completely different physics and rules. The only rules that we ultimately enforce on the sovereigns are things against fraud and things against, really inappropriate content. But otherwise, what we've tried to build, what we are building, is a system where it's really decentralized and anybody can just create what they want to create, except they can do it very inexpensively, very easily, using the tool sets that we give them. And then, UTHEX becomes, the medium of exchange, and ultimately, the unit of account for all of the metaverses. They can use their own token as well, but from a system-wide perspective, that's where the true value of UTHEX is. And that's why I say, 100 billion user accounts at the end of the day, is what we're aiming towards. That only really happens when it's a decentralized, fully customizable. You can change the UX, you can change the physics, you can change the rules, and experiment. And you can interconnect with other metaverses and exchange goods and services back and forth, having users' ability to go back and forth, or preventing users from doing certain things back and forth. With all of that, with all of that built into the protocols, I think that every other metaverse is ultimately going to be much more happy and much more successful once they port over to be compatible with our system.
What does mobility look like from a mobile standpoint? Mobile access. Like, I'm a guy that's very rarely on laptop. So
Yeah,
is that set up and ready to go? Like, is mobile pretty accessible at this point in
no,
your metaverse?
no, it's not. We have built in the hooks to do mobile, but we decided to launch primarily on desktop first. We work with VR, but VR headsets are, with its own UX, is going to be next, and then immediately following that is going to be mobile. But mobile has its own challenges for metaverse, of course, because you're dealing with a much smaller screen, real estate, and you're dealing with less powerful capability of doing 3D graphics. So we have to do things like, have a separate screen for chat if you're going to do text chat. So sliding back and forth. To do things like, having sprites instead of displaying, let's say, a LOD2 or LOD3 or 4 avatar in the distance. We may just make that avatar invisible and make it a sprite, so that it can all render on the phone. But that said, it's not difficult. We built it so that we could do that. We haven't done it yet because it's sort of one foot in front of the other. But you won't have long to wait. I'm very excited to get onto mobile. In fact, we're in talks with a huge telecommunications company down in South America who want us to prioritize doing mobile. So I may add another division of the company that's just dedicated to mobile, in particular for that telecom. Because that's such a huge account, a few 100 million people overnight, right?
Oh man, that's pretty big. Well, Brian, I want to thank you for coming out today. This has been an awesome space. I mean, man, AJ, anything that you want to ask Brian before we wrap this up, and then I've got one last question for him.
Yeah, I mean, my main question did have everything to do with the roadmap. I guess I just kind of want to use my time to tell the, you know, 1,800 plus people listening, check this project out. I have not personally checked it out yet, but Brian really seems to know his stuff. It really seems like an interesting project, and if we don't actually put both feet in there and give it an honest chance, how are we going to know? I've always been one to give anything a chance. If it's a new game or a new coin, or just at least to see how the next year plays out. Why not? You know what I mean? I feel he certainly has done his homework. Obviously, a really smart, intelligent guy, and that's certainly what you're looking for when you're talking about a project as complicated as being the metaverse, as he puts it. That's a very confident, very bold statement to make, and I don't think he'd say that if he didn't think he had the goods to back it up. So yeah, just be open minded to it, and give it an honest shot. I'm gonna reclaim the rest of my time, but I appreciate everybody here. Thanks for coming and hanging out.
Hey, there we go. And Brian, last thing I want to ask you. I mean, I'm interested. I think you said you were launching at 1.5 million FDV on Jupiter tomorrow. I mean, that those are the kind of numbers that I like. I don't want to get into anything that's too high because then you're kind of limited. So I'm going to be participating in this for everybody listening. Like I would think there's a lot of people who just got interested and became aware of what you're doing after this space. Like what can we do to help you and support you once we end this? And everybody, make sure you're following Brian. Make sure you're following Utherverse. Keep track of what they're doing and follow along with the journey.
Thank you so much. Um, I, I I would love for people who have creative ideas for engaging in the metaverse. If you want to put on a show, like a weekly show, if you've got events, if you've got business that you want to bring into the metaverse, now that we are in public beta, for the first time, we're really going to start engaging with users coming to us, or individuals or small businesses, or medium-sized businesses coming to us with ideas for what they want to do, and we'll try to get you hooked up and connected. Because what really makes a metaverse successful is the community. Number one, a positive, uplifting community that is supportive. So bring in supportive people that have a positive attitude. Once the way that the community starts is going to be what the way that it develops. So I really want to start this with good people, and the other thing that makes it successful is always having things to do and always having people online. So I'm trying to get us up to a few 100,000 consistent users online, with all kinds of events and activities. And if you've got an independent film, if you've got a band, if you're a DJ, if you're a clothing designer, you're an artist, come on in, or bring people in that and let's try to get this set up so that we can make them successful. We can make you successful. You help us by expanding the base. But the other way to participate, of course, is get a phantom wallet and grab some UTHX, or most importantly, download the software. And again, I apologize. It's taking about 3 hours right now. I've got my networking team working on getting us up onto another content distribution network, because we're killing it. In the future, it is going to be a lot faster to download. It's just, we released it today, and we have so many people that are trying to upgrade to get to see my talk at the convention, that it's taking forever. But come on in and try to do it. And I really appreciate any help. I mean, I'm in this for the betterment of Web3. I'm in this for the community. I'm fully doxxed. My team is fully doxxed. We've been doing this forever, and would love to have the help of everybody listening.
Oh man, that sounds awesome, Brian. I'm gonna be in there. I'm gonna think
Thanks.
about hosting some spaces in there. So this whole thing sounds right up my alley. I want to thank all the listeners for coming out, all the speakers for coming up, AJ for co-hosting this thing with me, Brian for just building. Man, Brian for doing everything that Brian's done over the past like 50 years. You guys look into Brian. He's actually a goat out here. But we'll see you all at the next Mario Nawfal on the Roundtable Spaces. Check out Brian's speech. Tomorrow they've got the launch. Follow along. Hope you all have a great day, and we'll see you over. Oh, have a great weekend too. We'll see you on Monday.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for all the hosts here.
Thank you, Brian.